Aloha, one and all. Week 3 of the Vital Body System. So, first 2 weeks, we've really been looking at doing more of an observational piece. Before we even start to really get into, the exact goals that we want or the aspirations that we have in relationship to that initial vision, we want to see where our point A is. And so we're looking at accumulating all of that information, looking at that from the questionnaire to the reading, and also the physical assessment. Now, once we have all of this information in play as we transition into this week, we want to close those aspects out and then be able to spend time instead of just merely that place of observation. What is it that we are most and truly inspired by? Because that area of inspiration inevitably leads to a place of activation. Now, what we're really going to be doing is looking at tapping into some of the wisdom of the body. So hopefully you also gone through the rolling, because that rolling is also going to have another piece added to it, which is a journaling. Now, where that comes into play is that our fascia system is highly tied to the emotional body, and specifically a lot of the areas of trauma that is held within the subconscious mind. And so we don't necessarily need to know exactly what that is. However, once we know where it dwells within our body, then we can figure out how we can best support those specific cells. Because until those cells are more open, allowing, and enabling, then as we look at downloading our self, if you will, it can overwhelm our very physicality. Believe me, I've been there and I've done that. So the rolling is very purposeful. Part of it is to definitely release some of that tension. And at the same time, it's also to be able to hone in on where within our body does that area of tension, pain, and discomfort exist. Because as we figure that out, there are correspondencies that exist between our physical body and our emotional body. And as we bring those two together, we have a better idea in terms of the areas that I would identify as our sticking points. Now, that means that this week, as we transition, what we really want to be doing is beginning to shift our attention by connecting to an intention. And that intention is going to be going further within. That's going to be looking at a place of inspiration, right? That's going to be looking at the things that we've been doing, a place of integration, right? And yet with all that coming into play, it really first begins with introspection. That deep inner connection and knowing that can only come through personal experience. So I'm going to follow up by scheduling those other sessions that we have left, those other 2 assessments. We want to round that out within the next week or so. 2, continue on with your rolling, add a piece to it. I want you to be hyper aware of what your body is communicating. So if you start to feel any sensations, any emotions as you're rolling, for example, if you start to experience anything in terms of like visuals, like I would highly recommend just closing your eyes and just really getting into it. And as you do, continue with that in terms of flushing the body out of some of the toxins that exist. Also, stay on the encoding of the water. That's really important. That's a very important piece that I want you to continue. And lastly is looking at specifically now starting to integrate parts of the mental body, right? The mental body is also a piece in terms of the emotional and physical. And those are the 3 areas of hindrances that allow, or rather usually inhibit, the spiritual body's expression. Now, in the mental body, we're going to be looking at the sanctuary exercise. That will be linked on as well, and I want you to spend some time with that too, in going into your own mental space, creating it, and then allowing yourself to merely dwell there, okay? Spend some time there, returning back into body, and looking at all those pieces as we then meet later this week, and figure out our own times for some one-on-one work as well. Love and aloha. Take care. Ahui ho.